Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So, let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And just to start off today, I want to share a little about me. You might be thinking, who is this person? I don't know anything about her. Who is she telling me what to do? Well, actually, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm trying to give you a bit of support and advice. So where I come from, I am a single parent. I have been down the lowest of lows as a single parent. I've been in deep, dark holes and in a place where I never, ever thought I would get out. I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And whilst I was going through it, I was very alone. I had no family in my area. I had minimal friends at that time. And the majority of friends that I did have seemed to want to take the side of my ex. They seemed to believe his pretty charming smile over the truth. So that was quite sad, and it was extremely difficult. The hardest thing I've ever gone through. And whilst I was in that really difficult, hard place, I knew deep down, this is something I want to help people through when I get through this. This is something that I want to offer support because it is a really shit, hard place to be in. And especially when you have no friends and no family around you to help you out. It's hard. So I've come to it. I've done the work. I've done the healing. I've done everything I need to do. I've done the studies. I'm certified in divorce coaching. I have taken up modalities in counseling and psychology and communication. I have got all this education under my belt, but I do pride myself mainly in the life skills that I bring to the table. I have got experience, I have got education, but I've also got first-hand experience of what it's like to actually go through these scenarios. Because I remember when I was first a single parent and I actually went to see a counselor, and it took me some time to actually get into seeing someone because I didn't have the money. I couldn't afford it. And as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I left with nothing and I couldn't even afford to get a counsellor. And that's when I finally figured out that you could get a referral from a doctor and you can get a certain amount of sessions for free, which I did. And that was really hard to do because I didn't have a car. So that's one of the reasons why I do pretty much all my sessions on Zoom, because not everyone has the option to drive or get transport or meet you one-on-one. So I do have that option to chat to people on Zoom. But as I was getting at, I did see a counsellor, but I didn't connect. Even though they may have been great at what they're doing, she had no idea what it was like to be in a DV situation. She had no idea what it was like to leave a relationship and had nothing. She had no idea what it was like to be a single mum. Now, I'm not hating on her, and I'm not saying she did a bad job, but I feel like you get that connection so much more when someone's actually understanding of what you have been through. And I didn't get that with her. And I didn't continue those sessions because there was that lack of empathy in a way, because she had no understanding of what it was like. And that's when I knew this is what I want to do. I want to help people. I know firsthand what it's like to have nothing, to leave these horrible situations and rebuild your life from scratch, and to have to co-parent with someone who is doing everything to bring you down. I know what it's like. And that's why I'm here to help you and support you and to help navigate you or direct you to see there is hope, to see that there is a better way to look at life, and there is a way of enjoying life as a single parent, even when you're at your darkest of darks. There is still a way through it. There is still hope. And that's what my mission here is with Life After Plus One. It's to help you see and to help you realize that I'm not just giving fluff and nonsense that's read in a book. I'm giving firsthand experience of giving you hope and giving you support for you to realize your life is not over just because you're a single parent. Your life is not gone to the shit because your relationship ended. There is still so much hope. There is still so much opportunity. You've just got to learn to reframe your situation and to look at it from a different angle and learn to focus on the good. And it's hard to see it when you're going through it. It's hard to actually realize, is there any good here? Is there anything good actually happening right now when I'm at the lowest of lows? But I promise you there is. There is always something good. There is always something that you can focus on that is happening right, or that is going good for you, that you can focus on to build and slowly grow that into something even bigger and even bigger and even bigger. And these good things don't just happen overnight. It is slow, gradual processes. And it's taken me many years. And I'm nearly going into my 11th year of being a single parent. And I have dated in that period. I haven't been single this whole time. But this last probably, how long has it been? Maybe 2 years? I have chosen to completely step back. Because at the start, I did date for the wrong reasons. I dated because I probably wanted a companion. I dated because I was lonely. I dated probably because it made me feel better. And sometimes you seek validation from the wrong places, and jumping into these rebound relationships is one way to seek validation, to make you realize that you are worthy of something better. But that's not where you're going to get it from. You get it from yourself. And that is the purpose of why I'm here. And like I said, I've got the qualifications, I've got the tertiary experience, but it's my first-hand knowledge of what it's like to go through all these horrible experiences with your ex, with dating, with co-parenting, with everything else that you go through as a single parent, reaching rock bottom, having no money to pay for your electricity bill, having no money to pay for dinner. I've been there. I know what it's like, and I've come through that. And that's where I come from, to help you realize that no matter how dark and how horrible your situation may be as a single parent, there is still hope. So that's a bit about me. And I'm not here to just talk about me today, but what I am wanting to talk about is communication. Now, I know I have discussed this on multiple episodes before, but it's such a big common theme that I see going around. And it's very common for people to be in relationships and have these problems with their partner. And it's more so relationships when you've become a single parent and you go back into the dating world and you meet someone new and you're dating them, or you're together in a relationship, and then something happens and you're not comfortable with it, you're not liking what's happening, but you don't know how to talk to them about it. You're too scared to approach it. And I want to talk about that today, because having a healthy level of communication with your partner is so important, because people seem to be more scared of talking about issues than they are of actually going through the pain of going through a breakup, because you didn't talk about those issues at the beginning. Me personally, I would rather deal with those uncomfortable conversations and get them out of the way. And if you're not on the same page, then they're not right for you, because you want someone that's on the same page. But if you don't have those conversations, if you just keep sweeping it under the carpet, you're going to keep holding those grudges. You're going to keep doubting yourself, doubting the relationship, doubting your partner, because you're not communicating about things that you're not happy with. And you're just thinking, I'll let it slide. It's not that bad. I'll give them another month or two. I'll give them a little bit longer. It may just improve. Here's a little news flash for you. Things don't just improve by you sweeping things under the carpet. Your partner, whether it's a male or female or whoever it is, they are not just going to magically change because you're just in your head hoping for the best, hoping that they will. Or you're giving little passive-aggressive signals to them, hoping that they will pick up what you're saying and hopefully they will just change. It doesn't work that way. If you want something to change in your relationship, mind you, you can't change a person, but you can hopefully work on things together where you can come together to compromise on things. And that's what a healthy relationship is about. And that's why you need to communicate things when you're not happy. And it might just be something little. It might just be something trivial, but still inside it's eating you up. And if it's something that you feel you need to go to Facebook to ask that question, then that's something that you should be asking your partner. Because if it's eating you up to the point where you need to ask a group of people that you don't know, then it's obviously something that's bothering you. It's making you feel unsettled or uncomfortable, or it's making you feel not right about the situation. This is something you need to talk to your partner about. But sadly, we live in a world where discussing things and sweeping things under the carpet seem to be normalized because people are so scared of conflict. We need to remember that talking about things and expressing what's going on is not conflict. It's communicating. It's very different. If you come at it in an aggressive way, say, for example, let's bring up a scenario here that the thing that you're getting worked up about or that's really eating you up that you're not liking. Say, for example, your partner spends a lot of time at your house and they're there quite regularly and they don't contribute to any food, they don't buy anything, they don't contribute to anything, but they're at your house the majority of the time. And you're at a point where you're feeling like they're sponging off you or they're just taking you for granted because they're not helping with any cooking or cleaning. They're not helping with buying any food. They're not helping with anything. They're not offering to do anything. And you're at a place where you're now thinking, well, is this a one-way street? If you're here majority of the time, then you should be contributing. And at the end of the day, if this was a good relationship or a healthy relationship, they would be offering to contribute or offering to bring some food home or offering to even cook. But if they're dependent on you and expecting you to do it all the time, and you've reached a point where you're now starting to hold a grudge against them for doing this, but you're too scared to confront them about it. If you keep letting that slide and you keep sweeping it under the carpet, just hoping one day they might come and turn around and say, oh, I brought dinner, or hey, how about I cook tonight? It doesn't just happen like that. If you're not saying anything, then they've got the easy life. They think, yep, this is good. It's not a problem. They're not complaining. They must be fine that I'm not cooking. They must be fine that I'm not buying things. They're okay with it. So they're just going to keep going with it. They're not going to change anything because they don't know that there's anything wrong with it because you haven't brought it up. Where in your head, you're probably fuming and so angry and annoyed and frustrated and feel like you're being taken advantage of. In their head, they think, oh, I've got a lovely partner. They're offering to do all this. They're cooking, they're cleaning. I don't have to buy anything. It's nice and easy. This is good. I love this. It's not a two-way street here. And if you're feeling like this and you're starting to get some resentment towards your partner for this reason. Now, this could be many reasons that are happening in a relationship that's causing you to feel this way. This is just one example because I see this a lot. I see this scenario quite often where partners are coming in and they're spending all this time together, but they're not contributing to the lifestyle that they're taking from, if that makes sense. They're there all the time, but they're eating all the food. They're doing everything, but they're not contributing in any way. By letting that slide and by not saying anything, all you're going to do is cause more upset for yourself. And you see it often when people are maybe 6 months into a relationship or 12 months or sometimes even a few years into a relationship. Then all of a sudden these things happen and they're like, I don't know how to bring it up. And quite often these things that they've reached a roadblock at where they don't know how to discuss are things that should be discussed at the beginning of the relationship. Because you don't want to get to 12, 24 months into a relationship and realize there's things that you guys don't align on. They might all of a sudden tell you that they're wanting another kid, but you're shut up shop. You're done. You don't want any more kids. This is something you should have discussed at the beginning. Now, I'm not saying this is something that's always going to happen, but it's big things like this, these big life-changing decisions that should be discussed early on in the relationship to see if you guys are going to align, to see if you both have the same values and the same goals. You don't want to start getting into a relationship with someone all of a sudden 12, 24 months down the track, you realize they've got no intentions on ever moving, or they've got no intentions on ever living with someone else, or they've got no intentions on ever getting married again. You want to find these things out at the start. Now, I'm not saying those decisions are bad or wrong. Everyone's entitled to their own choices. But if they don't align with what you're after, then you need to know this at the start because you don't want to get so heavily involved into a relationship then realize, oh, we both want different things here. I want to travel. They just want to have fun out with their friends. But sadly, it's the fear of looking like the bad guy, and it's the fear of having an argument that people are afraid of having these big, deep conversations. Now, it doesn't have to be big and it doesn't have to be deep, but it is important to get these big questions out of the way at the beginning so you are on the same page as each other. You don't want to get into a relationship where you just figure out later down the track, you're just so different. And these things do happen, and that's normal. But the quicker you have these discussions and the quicker you get comfortable with talking to them about this, the easier it gets for you. Because you don't want to be caught up in a relationship with someone that's just so not aligned with what you're after. And I feel like I'm using that word a bit here, but it's true. You want someone that's wanting the same things as you in life. Someone that has similar values, morals, respect. You want to be on the same page as each other. And this is where it comes to my initial example of what I was saying when someone just comes over 3, 4, maybe 5 nights a week. They're spending all weekend at your house and not contributing in any way. Then they're not on the same page as you. They don't have the same values or the same morals as you, because in your eyes, you're getting frustrated because they're not contributing. So for you, you feel like if you're in their shoes, you would be offering help. So you're getting frustrated that they're not doing things the same as you, and they're not even offering to do it. These are things that you need to point out. And it's a hard one to tackle because money's a bit of a scary topic that people don't like to discuss. But again, if you're looking at getting into a serious relationship with someone, then you do need to have these discussions because, as I said, it's much easier to have this chat with them early on than it is to realize later down the track after you're emotionally invested, after you've got the kids involved in their life and they've grown an attachment to this person. And then you realize this person's just taking me for advantage and I don't like it. Now I've got to break up with them and I don't know how. I don't want to go through another breakup. What do I do? This is why it's so important to have these discussions, because the more you know about them at the start, the less chance you have of going down this same road, dealing with relationships that go down the same path, the same toxic patterns. You need to break that cycle. And to break that, you need to do something different. So if you're not used to communicating with your partner and it ends up being toxic and you end up having these unhealthy arguments and disagreements because you haven't discussed things, then maybe this is your time to step back and realize, okay, something's got to change here. And maybe it's the way I communicate things that needs to change. Maybe I need to start being open with what my expectations are. Maybe I need to find out what their expectations are. Now, I'm not saying that you need to say, okay, if you're coming for this many nights, you need to contribute this, this, and this, and this. Because you don't want to come across as being their parent. You don't want that at all. You want to show that you're an equal, you're a relationship, you're a partnership. Maybe it's time you sit down and have a discussion with them and just say, and I'm going back to using that example of how they're coming over so often and not contributing. There's plenty other examples I can come up with, but this is a very common one. So maybe it's an opportunity for you to sit down and say, financially, this is really weighing on me, feeding an extra person all these extra nights a week. What are the chances you could maybe contribute? What are the chances you could maybe provide dinner or some groceries here and there? Maybe they don't realize how much it's affecting you financially. Maybe they do and they're just being self-absorbed. I don't know. But either way, whatever their reason for doing it, it's not right. And they are taking advantage of you. And it is a situation that needs to be approached. And it's not so much talking about someone that's taking you for granted. It's you learning to communicate when something is not right and not just sitting around stewing on it and not just sitting around letting it slide and secretly hoping that they're going to stop. Secretly hoping that this behavior will just change or that they'll just randomly start buying you things. They will not just change because in your head you're hoping for that to happen. And this is why relationships can end in such an unhealthy, toxic way, because you get to a place where you're holding on to so much anger and frustration because of things that are happening, and you're too scared to talk about it. You're too afraid to discuss it in case you might upset them. But then later, you're going to reach a point where you're going to break. You can't hold on to that forever. There's only so long that you can sweep it under the carpet before you're going to erupt. And when you erupt, it's going to be 1,000 times worse than what it would have been if you sat down and had a normal conversation with them. So we need to get to a place where we're actually comfortable to talk to our partners and not scared. You do not want to be scared to talk to your partner about real life issues. And if you are, then the question is, why are you scared to have these discussions with your partner? What are you fearful of? Because you want a partner that you're comfortable with. You want a partner that makes you feel okay to discuss these real life issues. And that's one thing you need to mention from the get-go when you're going into the dating world. You're looking for a partner that's not scared to deal with real life issues. You're looking for a partner that is comfortable to talk about things when things don't go right. Now, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to find them straight away if you say that. Because people can say, yeah, that's me. I talk about everything. Because I've met people like that. You go out on a date with someone, they're like, yeah, I talk about everything. I don't bottle things up. I communicate about everything. Next minute something happens and you don't know about it because they're too scared to talk to you. It's like, well, hold on. You just said you were happy to talk about everything, but you're not talking about this. You're happy to kind of sweep that under the carpet and then get the shits and not tell me why. That's not someone that talks about things. So people can just say what they want you to say and just put on that nice smile to try and impress you. But at least you've put it out there. And it makes you more comfortable to actually talk about things. Put it out there from the beginning. But we also need to remember, talking about things is not fighting about things. They are two very different things. Fighting about things is when you get to a point where you're so pissed off that they're not contributing, that you're so pissed off that they're coming over so much and not offering to do anything. Then you start yelling at them. Then you start getting angry at them. You start getting pissed off, and it just turns into a massive battle, massive fight between you two. That's a fight. Talking to them about saying, hey, listen, I love you coming over, but do you think you could help out? Because this is getting a lot. This is starting to really affect me financially, and I'm very tight as it is. I'm living week to week, and I'm really doing it tough. Is there any way you can start helping out? Or maybe we need to cut back on how often you're having dinner here. Or maybe I can go to your house. Depends on how it works with the kids and your situation. But that's one way you can put it out there. You don't want to be scared. If you're struggling financially and you're looking after an extra person, that's not fair on you. And that's not a healthy relationship, because a quality partner would not put you in a position where you're going to now struggle financially. So what I want to get at here is I want everyone to be comfortable, or to get themselves to a place where they can talk to their partner and not just bottle things up and think, I can't say that. This is really pissing me off. I don't like it, but I don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You talk to your partner. That's what you do. That's what you do. And you may sit down and talk to them, and they may see it in a very different way, but that's okay. That's not about having a fight. That's about just saying, this is the way I see it. What do you actually, how do you look at this? How are you taking it? Because I'm finding this really tough. And get their perspective on it. Get their point of view. And they may look at it and turn around and say, oh shit, sorry, that's a valid point. I didn't even think about that. I'm really sorry. I just thought you were cooking dinner. You wouldn't have had enough left over. And it was just one extra person. I didn't see it as a big deal. Because for them, they may just be living on their own and just feeding themselves. And for them, they're thinking, well, this is easy. I don't have to cook one meal all the time. I can go there. They've already cooked dinner. I'm just joining in. But to them, they're not realizing that cooking for one extra adult is not just cooking for one extra adult. You've still got to buy extra food, and it still adds up. It's money out of your pocket when you're struggling. And I know what that's like. I've been there, where you actually have to struggle to get food in your house. So if you're in that situation where you are doing it tough financially and someone is coming in not realizing how much it's affecting your finances, let them know that, because they could be completely oblivious, living in their one-person world, not realizing that adding one more person to your scenario or your daily life is going to make that much of an impact. You need to let them know that it does. And if they want to keep going there on a regular basis, they need to start contributing. And I will tell you this, a quality partner will be accepting of your feedback. If you get a partner that turns around and gets defensive and starts getting angry and starts going, well, it's just one more person, what's the big deal? That's not someone you want around, because they're not accepting or respecting, I should say. They're not respecting you. They're not respecting how it's making you feel. They're not respecting how much you're spending and how much you're doing. So if they're not responding to your feedback in an appropriate way, then that's your time to really step back and assess the situation. Because it's not something that you should stand back and say, okay, I'm going to give this a month or two and see if it changes. I might give it 6 months. I might give it another year. You don't want to do that, because the more you're giving it, the more you're getting emotionally invested in this relationship, the more your kids are invested in this relationship. The longer you give it, the harder it is to get out of it. And now I'm not saying that you should be leaving a relationship because something's not going right, but I am saying that the longer you leave it, the harder it is to deal with. So if something's not right, discuss it. And it could be about anything. Like I've mentioned, it's just one scenario I brought up, which is someone coming over on a regular basis and not contributing. There could be anything, like, for example, they're refusing to introduce you to their kids. They're refusing to introduce you to their family, or there could be a number of things. It could be many things. And whatever that scenario is that you're feeling uncomfortable with, and you're deep down, you're just starting to hold resentment towards this person. And you're like, I don't like this. Why can't I meet their friends? Or why can't I meet their kids? And especially if it's been a long-term relationship, you don't want to rush into that if it's only been quite new. But if you've been together with them for quite a long period of time and you're not meeting anyone in their world, or they're keeping secrets, or you're feeling something's not right, you need to discuss it. If you're feeling resentment, if you're feeling something in the pit of your stomach that's not right, sit down and say, hey, can we have a chat about something? And if their response is to attack, then that's not right. You don't want someone that handles situations by attacking. You want someone that is respectful of what you're saying and is willing to hear you out. But the thing is, you need to approach it in a healthy way. You can't, because you're starting to get angry and annoyed and frustrated about a situation, you can't come into a conversation with them and get in defense mode and get in attack and start saying, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that, I need you to stop doing this. That is going to result in an argument. If you come at it in an open way, or being open-minded, saying, listen, this is how I'm feeling, it's getting a little frustrating, we need to start doing something a bit different here. Otherwise, this is not going to work. Then there's a good chance they're not going to get all defensive. Because when you go into a situation and it's completely directed at them saying, you're doing this, it's you, I'm sick of this, you need to change this, you need to stop this, you need to do this. If you go in with that delivery, they're going to straight away get in defense mode and start protecting themselves and saying, well, you did this, you did that, you did this. And then it's just going to go into a tit for tat battle, which will get you nowhere. If you want to have or raise an issue with them about something that you're not happy with, you've got to really think about the way you're going to deliver that. You've got to come in open-minded. You've got to come in on an even playing field, just saying, this is how I feel. How do you take this situation? What's your thoughts on it? And that's why so many people hold off talking about things, because they're scared of how to say it, or they don't know how to say it. But the thing is, you don't have to go in there straight away when something's happened and then just go boom and throw out how you're feeling. You need to actually sit back, process it all, and go, okay, this is really starting to get to me. I need to talk about this. And think about what you're going to say if need be. If you're someone that's not comfortable to talk about things and you don't do it often, think about how you're going to say it. Think about how you can deliver it where you're not kind of directly attacking your partner. You're just letting them know how it's making you feel. You're letting them know how you're perceiving the situation and how it's coming across to you. And then you can ask them, okay, so how are you seeing this? Because I'm getting the impression that we both don't have the same point of view on this situation. And in saying that, we also need to remember that you're never going to agree 100% of the time with your partner. It is never going to happen. I mean, do you agree 100% of the time with your friends, with your kids, with your family? It's never going to happen. There's always going to be disagreements. It's just learning to compromise and learning to accept that not everyone is going to have the same point of view as you. Not everyone is going to do the same things as you. Not everyone is going to handle things in the same way as you. It's how do you get that across to the other person without creating conflict? And it really comes down to just letting them know where you're at and how you feel and how the situation is making you feel. It's making you feel uncomfortable. And let's go back to the original example of someone coming over on a regular basis and not contributing. You can say, this is starting to make me feel like you're taking me for granted. I'm more than happy to have you over. I'm more than happy to cook and I'm more than happy to do things for you. But it just feels like it's constantly me giving and me giving and me doing, but I'm getting nothing in return. And I feel like you need to start contributing in some way, or you need to start doing something so it's not just me, me, me. And that's important. That's important to let your partner know that it's making you feel like you're the one doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking. That's not what a relationship is about. It's 50-50. You give, you take. And again, they might be totally blind and totally oblivious and not realizing how it's making you feel. And they might turn around and say, holy shit, I didn't realize it was that big a deal. I'm really sorry. I'll start giving you some money each week, or I'll start helping out a bit more. That's amazing. That's the response you want. Or they might turn around and say, well, what's the big deal? I don't see a big deal. It's just one extra person. If that's your response, well, that's their response, I should say, then that's a dick answer, if you ask me. That's showing that they're not acknowledging how it's making you feel. They're not caring that you're out of pocket. They're not caring that you're doing anything for them. They're not caring that you're doing all the giving and they're just taking. That's when you need to sit back and assess, is this someone for you? Is this someone you see a long-term relationship with? Because if they're not willing to change even after you point it out to them, then maybe this is your time to say, you know what? I don't think this is the kind of relationship for me. I don't see a future with us. This is not going to last. And this is why you need to have these conversations. You can't just sit back and think, okay, if I sit down and give these little passive aggressive hints and maybe leave little notes and maybe do little or something to discreetly let them know that they're doing something wrong, that's not going to help. You don't want to play games. You don't want to expect them to read your mind. And sometimes, as annoying as it is, some people do need to be spoon-fed when it comes to letting them know how you feel. They need to be spoon-fed when it comes to letting them know where you're at. And if that means sitting down, having regular conversations, then do it. Because at least that way you're not getting pissed off. At least that way you're not bottling everything up and getting annoyed by what's happening. And going back to the example of when I said, are you scared to not discuss it in fear of what their reaction might be? Why are you fearful of their reaction? Is it someone that is aggressive, that does get angry? If it is, I want you to ask yourself, is that someone you see a long-term relationship with? Because that doesn't sound very healthy. Are you scared to approach them because it's just something in yourself? You're quite shy and you've been raised just to not talk about things? Because that's quite common. Like I know from my parents, they all from a generation where you don't talk about things. You don't talk about certain things. You don't get involved in people's business. You just, if people need you, you're there for them, but you don't get involved. You don't bring it up. But you see this all the time. People that do that, people that don't talk about things, they don't want to bring things up, they don't want to discuss things. They're the ones that are always upset. They're the ones that are always complaining about other people and other situations because they're constantly being let down because they're not talking about situations, they're not talking about things that are happening that are upsetting them. They're just letting it slide. They're just letting it slide and thinking, no, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't want to get involved. But deep down, they're screaming. They're screaming for some help. They're just annoyed. They're pissed off. They're not happy. But talking about things is not about conflict. Talking about things is not about starting a fight. Talking about things is not about belittling or mocking people or looking down on someone. It's not about that at all. It's about you're at a place now as a single parent where you need to be really firm about what you want. You don't want to go through these dating cycles where you just keep ending up heartbroken because nothing is changing. You just keep hoping for the best. You could just keep sweeping things under the carpet, hoping that this person will work out. I think we all know, as single parents, you've all been hurt enough. You've been through the ringer enough. You don't want to keep going through that with future relationships. For yourself, mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, and for your kids. You don't want to put them through that. And the way to limit these toxic situations is to start communicating it. Start talking about things. Don't just sit there and put a smile on your face when deep down you're like, holy fuck, you're an arsehole. I can't believe you just did that. But when you keep sweeping things under the carpet and you keep refusing to talk about things, there's one person that you're hurting by doing that. And that's yourself. That's yourself. If you want to get yourself to a place where you're happier in yourself, you're happier in your relationships, you're happier in life, then start communicating what you want. And it's okay to do that. And some people might not like that. Some people might be intimidated by that. And some people may see that as being rude or bossy, even though you're not. Because some people get intimidated when other people can talk up or speak up for themselves. And I will tell you now, those people that are getting intimidated by that, those people that don't like it when other people speak up for themselves, I'll tell you who those people are. They're the people that don't speak up for themselves. They're the people that are too scared to speak up for themselves. So when they see other people do it, it triggers them. They're like, oh, they're being rude or they're being bossy. When they're not. They're not being rude or bossy. Sometimes some people might be, but the majority of the time people are not. They're just getting intimidated by it and triggered by it and put off by it because they themselves can't do it. They themselves don't speak up. And quite often, or not quite often, always when you see people put off by other people or triggered or frustrated or annoyed, they've brought up something in them that they don't have. For example, I think I brought this up on last week's episode or one of the previous ones. When you see on social media all the time when people are commenting on celebrities and wealthy people and they're always having a go at them, oh, I hope they donated to charity, oh, I hope they did this. When quite often the majority of those people do. But what I'm getting at here is people seem to be triggered by people that have more than them or people that are doing better than them. And that annoys them. And it's deep down a trigger in them. Maybe they wish they had more. Maybe they wish they could do more. Maybe they wish they could donate to charity more. But you don't get triggered by people that have less than you. You get triggered by people that have more than you. And that's the same when it comes to like speaking up and being able to handle yourself in a more mature way. And communicating things is not being rude. And it always comes down to the way you deliver your message. You don't need to say what you want by saying, listen, I'm fed up of you coming over here and just eating my food. Get out of my house. I mean, hey, you could say that if you're really over them and you want to end the relationship, but that's not how I would handle it. That's being rude and that's starting a fight. If you're not happy and if you're not comfortable, especially when it's in your own home, then you need to find a way to address it. So the point of this episode is learning to be comfortable with communicating to your partner. And it's not just your partner. It's also your friends. your family, your kids. Like, for example, at Christmas time, you might have family that come over your house every single year, but deep down you're thinking, I'm sick of being the one that has to host. I'm sick of being the one that's out of pocket every year. But you keep doing it because that's just what's happened and you're too scared to speak up. And instead of just saying to your family, hey, listen, I'm a little bit tight on money this year. Can we do it somewhere else? Or can we all just bring a plate? Instead of just speaking up and communicating that, you just roll with it and sweep everything under the carpet, put a smile on your face, and then once everyone's left after Christmas, you're fuming because of how broke you are and how much cleaning you've got to do, and you've just done it all, and you're pissed off and thinking, shit, I'm going to have to go through this next year again. This is why you need to communicate things, because like I said, when you don't talk about things that are upsetting you, the only person you're hurting is yourself. And the point of this episode and everything that I discuss here on Life After Plus One is to get you out of these constant cycles that lead you into the same result of getting heartbroken. And the first step to changing that and getting out of these patterns is to learn to speak up, learn to communicate, learn to say when something's not right. And if you're not comfortable just yet doing it, start with your kids. Instead of just yelling at your kids and saying, I told you to clean up your room, put your dirty clothes away. Instead of just yelling at them, you can talk to them. Hey, listen, I'm feeling very disrespected at the moment. I've asked you multiple times to clean your room and you haven't listened to me once, and I'm not happy. And quite often when you talk to anyone, even if it is your kids, friends, adults, and you're telling them how it's making you feel, how their actions and what they're doing is making you feel, they will listen. They will acknowledge that, because kids don't want to let down their parents. And you let them know, well, hold on, you're making me feel like a bit of a failure at the moment. You're making me feel like I'm not really being listened to and I'm not happy. You're really upsetting me and I'm feeling very disrespected at the moment. Let them know how they're making you feel. And let them know how they would feel if you did that to them. So if you're not comfortable with doing it with an adult, start with your kids. But there is nothing wrong with actually speaking up. It's like when people go to a restaurant and they order something and they give them something completely different to what they ordered. But then they sit there and they have it because they're too scared to tell them, hold on a second, I actually ordered this and you've given me this. Mind you, that happened once with me with a coffee. I ordered something, but I didn't realize until I was in the car and I'd already driven off. I had a sip and it had vanilla in it, and I don't like coffee with any flavoring in it. And I'm like, shit, it's too late. I'd already driven off. But if I had a sip when I was there, I would have 100% said something. I'm like, oh, this is the wrong coffee. I probably wouldn't have said it like that. But it's learning to speak up. And quite often when you go to places and they give you something that's incorrect, they want to know. They don't want you going back in and bitching on Facebook or bitching to their friends. Oh my God, they useless restaurant. Don't go back there. They gave me this and it's not what I ordered. Let them know, because 100% they will be apologetic and they will fix it for you. They're not going to turn around and say, well, stuff shit. You get it now. They would never ever respond in that way. So I want you to challenge yourself. If you are not someone that communicates things, if you are someone that's too scared to talk about things, I want you to start. I want you to do one small thing this week, whether that be with your kids, a friend, you might be dating someone and there's something that's happened with them and you've been too scared to mention it. I want you to get the courage to try and find a way to talk about it in a constructive way without getting in an argument. And I want to hear what the outcome is. I want to hear how it works, because that's what we want to do. We want to get to a place where we're comfortable to talk about these things. And so many people are not. And let me tell you a little secret about me. And my daughter was blown away when I told her this. Years ago, when I was at school, and even when I was in my 20s, I was shy as a mouse. If you spoke to me in a group, my face would go bright red. I'll be like, no, I just wanted to hide. I didn't really socialize much. Well, I did, but mainly with my friend group. But if it was with other people, I got really embarrassed. I was really shy. I didn't like being spoken to in big groups and, the attention being put onto me. I didn't like it. But it took all these life experiences that I've been through with my divorce, I went through a divorce when I was quite young. Well, actually, I wasn't young. I was about 26. And then in my mid-30s, I met my daughter's father, and that was de facto relationship. And that breakup really shaped me to who I am today. It really did. And you get to a place when you're a single parent when you realize no one's going to come and rescue you. You've got to rescue yourself. And you can't just sit back and be all shy and put a sweet little smile on your face and sweep everything under the carpet and expect things to work out for you. It doesn't happen that way. If you want things to happen, if you want to get out and achieve things in life, if you want to have a happier life, you need to be able to speak up for yourself. And you do learn that the hard way in life. You do learn that when you go through all these really tough situations in life that really push you to breaking point. And you get to a place that's like, I'm not too worried what these people think of me. They're not paying my bills. They're not doing anything to contribute to my life. So I have no need to lose sleep over people that I know little about or that don't even know me. So put your focus on you. Put your focus on making your life better for you and making your life better for your kids. And when you do learn to speak up, and when you do learn to communicate, your kids see that. And as I always say, we are a role model to our kids. They see the way we interact. They see how we do things. They see how we behave. Quite often, they take up our actions. And if you're someone that's too shy to speak up, you don't say things, you just tell your kids, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay. And you just, again, sweep everything under the carpet, it's okay, just don't worry about it. Then that's how they're going to handle things in life. But if something happens and you teach your kids to talk about it, and you talk about things with your kids, then that's going to encourage them to speak up. Because you don't want your kids to grow up and be in a relationship where they're not happy, but they don't say anything because they weren't raised to speak up. They weren't raised to talk about things. They were raised just to let things slide. You don't want that. And it's easy to forget about that and just think about your situation. But if you put someone else in your situation, if you were in your situation, if you had a friend in your situation or a daughter or a son in your situation, and the same thing that was happening to you that you weren't happy about, and one of them was there, what advice would you give them? So if your kids were in a situation or one of your close friends was in your same situation and they came to you about it and they told you they told you they weren't happy about it and they were just feeling a bit sick in the stomach and something didn't feel right, would the advice you give them, would it be to just wait it out a few months? They might change. I guarantee you it would not be. I guarantee you that's not what you would tell them. If your friends or your kids came to you wanting advice about a relationship that they're in, that something's happening that they're not comfortable with, you would tell them to probably either leave, you would tell them to talk to them about it, you would tell them something's got to be done. You would not just say, just let it slide and hope they change. So why put yourself in that situation? Remember, if you're in a situation that you're not comfortable with, I want you to think about the advice that you would give to your kids if they were in that same situation, or the advice that you would give to your friends if they were in that same situation. It's easy to put our needs and just brush it to the side and think, I'll be fine, I'll just let it slide. Why? Why are you just letting your needs slide? You need to start talking about things. So going back to what I just said earlier, I challenge you that when something comes up this week and you're feeling in the pit of your stomach uncomfortable about it, something's like, oh, I don't feel right about that. I want you to step back. I want you to process it, and I want you to find a way to talk about it. Because that's how it starts. You're not just all of a sudden overnight going to sit down and go, okay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this. You slowly build that up. You get to a place where you're comfortable with doing that. And slowly it does become the norm. But one last thing before I do sign off is that it's important to also remember you don't have to also talk about everything. You don't have to pick fault in everything. There are times when you can bite your tongue. There are times when you learn to let things slide. And that's not just a matter of sweeping things under the carpet. It's a matter of realizing that's not important to me. It doesn't affect me in my life in any way. So I don't really need to comment on it. It's only when it affects you directly that, yes, you can speak up about it. If it's about someone else, if it's about something that's happening, if it's about gossip, if it's about hearsay stuff, if it's about something else that's not related to you directly, then bite your tongue. You don't need to communicate about everything. You don't need to have an opinion on everything. And also, going back on that other point, if it is with a partner, if it is with kids, if it is with friends, there's also a place where you can compromise. You can communicate, but you don't always have to agree. You don't always have to see eye to eye. You're not always going to have the same opinions and the same beliefs as other people. You can share your thoughts, you can share how it makes you feel, but you've also got to accept if someone doesn't see your point of view or if someone doesn't agree. And from there, that's where you learn to compromise. Or if it's with a partner, that's when you learn to step back and assess, is this someone that I see longevity with? Is this someone that I see going long term with if they're not going to see eye to eye with me? So you've just got to weigh up. Is it an important issue or is it not? Is it something you can let slide? Or is it something that's like, well, this is make or break for me. This is one of my big values that I need someone to be on par with. So that's it from me, guys. And I hope you got something from this because it is so important. This is a big topic and so many people are scared of it. People are scared to talk about how they feel. And sadly, it comes down to people fearing what other people are going to think of them, fearing the judgment, fearing being hated, fearing being disliked, fearing conflict. It's fear of the reaction, fear of the worst case scenario. Don't go into things thinking the worst. Go into things thinking, okay, this might be good that they now know how I feel. This might be good that I've got this off my chest. Don't go into situations all the time thinking worst case scenario. So if you are in a place where you are really struggling and you're lacking the confidence to even get to that step of talking up, because that's where it comes down to. You need to have the confidence and the self-worth in yourself to know that you don't have to be scared of what people are going to think of you. You don't have to be scared of these things. And if you are, then let's have a chat. I'm here to help build that confidence back up. I'm here to help you build your self-worth back up. Because after a breakup, especially when you become a single parent, your confidence is at rock bottom. Your self-worth is quite often at rock bottom. And it's hard to build that up again. It takes time. So if you need someone to help you through that, I would love to support you on that journey. Because you can get it back up. You can build back your confidence and you can build back your self-worth. Everyone is worthy of having that. And unfortunately, these toxic situations that you've been through have shattered that for you. It's there, it's just shattered. We just need to put it back together again. And if you need that help, reach out. All my details in the show notes, and I would love to help build that back up for you. So thank you again, everyone. And thank you, everyone, for coming back week after week. I'm nearly at episode 100. If there's anything exciting you want me to discuss on episode 100, or should I just make it a normal episode? Who knows? Let me hear from you. I would love to have some feedback. You can come join me over on my Instagram page, Life After +1. Shoot me a message. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to have you on board and just come over and follow and see some crazy behind the scenes stuff. Also, as I always say, if you're loving the show, give me a review. I want to hear back from you. I want to hear that everyone's loving it. I want to hear your thoughts. It takes 2 seconds just to share your thoughts. And the more feedback I get, the better it is for the show to be heard amongst all our single parent community. And if you do know a single parent, or you have a single parent friend out there who is needing a bit of support, then share the show with them. I'd love to have them on board. So thank you again, everyone. And until next week, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After +1 podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplus1.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after +1.